Welcome everyone to another edition of Play It Through, and on this edition it's Contra The Alien Wars, brought to us by Konami. Contra The Alien Wars for the Nintendo Game Boy is a port of the Super Nintendo game of Contra 3 The Alien Wars, though it is slightly different from that version, obviously scaled down and changed just a bit. As we begin the game, we get a little bit of an opening cutscene before we get to the title screen. Once we're at the title screen, I'm going to go down to Options. There's multiple difficulties. I'm going to go ahead and switch it up to the hardest difficulty of the game, Maniac, and go from there. As we begin the game, there are a few power-ups that you can end up grabbing, including a barrier for some invulnerability time. You also have a spread shot, the homing shot, the flamethrower, and then you have like an explosive ammo shot that goes out and blows up after it reaches its destination. I'll be mostly using the spread shot and a bit of a flamethrower throughout the course of the game. There's a few bosses that work better with one weapon over another. When you make it up to this wall, just fire at the circle thing at the bottom so that you can actually do enough damage to destroy it. Here you can get inside the vehicle for a moment. It's not going to last too long as it only takes a little bit of damage before it blows up. Make sure you're out of it before it does. But just a fun little thing to do for a moment. Thankfully, you can just hold down the button to keep doing that auto fire, which is extremely useful. The barrier doesn't last long though, so we're gonna try to dodge these flames. Just gotta wait for them to dissipate a little bit so that we can jump over them. Wait a moment over here, and this plane will go overhead, shooting down these missiles, causing fire to go everywhere, so now we have to deal with that as well. Shimmy across here, wait for this explosion thing to kind of dissipate, go back down, so that you can actually go over. Keep watching out for the flames as much as possible, and even though in a lot of Contra games, my goal is always to kind of keep moving, playing it on the hardest difficulty here, I do have to take my time a little bit here and there. This version of Alien Wars does have a few levels missing, as well as you can't swap weapons. Those are probably the biggest differences between the two versions of the game. Here we have our first level boss, this giant turtle-like boss. We're going to be firing at the thing at the bottom. You can kind of see it flashing to signify its weak spot. We're going to get down here, duck, and then keep firing at it until it starts firing itself, back away and jump over the bullets. Then repeat the process, getting out of the way of its head, flames from its mouth, and back to the bottom so that we can continue shooting at it. Once the boss is taken care of, we're moving on to level 2. In these top-down perspective levels, you have to destroy a certain number of objects in order to move on. These enemies that come up, these turret-like shooting enemies, you have to take care of each one of them before you enter into the boss room for the level. It's not too difficult. Thankfully, there are arrows pointing you in the directions to go. Just watch out for all of the landmines that are scattered all around that will explode, of course, if you get too close to them and stay too close when they blow up. These turret guys are annoying just because of the amount of bullets they end up putting out on screen. Work my way down here over these mines. Some of them may end up being activated, but if I'm quick enough, I should be able to get away from them before they blow up. Take out the next one of these guys down here. The flamethrower works exceptionally well against these guys, as well as it works really well against the boss, so a useful weapon to have during this section. We're headed down here and then over to the right a little bit just to finish up the last one. And now we're getting ready for the boss fight. The giant boss has rotating blades around it. You need to destroy each one of them. Just make sure you're not too close when it starts moving. It moves really fast, so you got to make sure that you're already kind of moving before it starts to move. You can kind of tell because the objects will start spinning a second or so before he starts moving. So as soon as they start moving, make sure you're hauling butt away so you don't end up getting run over. Once you take care of all of them, then just shoot him in the lower region right here, and you'll take care of him in no time, and we're moving on to level number 3. Three is another side-scrolling stage here. Levels 1, 3, and 5 are all side-scrolling, whereas 2 and 4 are the top-down perspective levels. These rolling turret guys can be a little bit annoying because you have to attack them when they open up. These rotating things you can grab a hold of, and you actually have to hold on to one in just a little bit when we take care of a boss fight, or a mini boss fight. These bugs, these giant bugs, are going to come down in groups of 3, just fire at each group as they show up. It's a lot of them. They're just going to keep on coming, but take them out and then move a little bit, take them out, move a little bit, rinse and repeat. Use your bombs if you want to by pressing select, though usually I save them for the last level of the game. Here's the boss that we gotta deal with. We're gonna be swinging on this thing and then just firing at it. It's gonna shoot flames straight up, so we're gonna make sure we jump off of it and then grab back on to the rotating thing and continue the process of kind of circling it and blasting it with our firepower. Once it's done, make sure you don't hang on to it for too long and end up getting picked up and thrown into the big pit below. Start traveling upwards, watching out for the missiles on the left side. As you grab a hold of this wall and start working your way up, this big robot will end up showing up. You can't hurt it at first. I'm going to use my flame just for the fun of it, but unfortunately you have to wait until you get to the top in order to actually deal damage to it. Just slowly move up inch by inch, watching out for the various missiles. You can use your firepower to take them out if you're lucky enough, but just make sure you're kind of like in the middle of the enemy, and you should be able to easily shift when needed to avoid these missiles. It is a little bit of a lengthy journey up, and when you make it to the top, he pulls out these 2 parts of the wall, and now we have to battle him, trying to crush us every few moments. Thankfully, it's not too bad dodging up and down, just kind of wait for him to start coming towards you, and make sure you're out of the way, and then hit him with your flamethrower or whatever gun you currently have equipped. If you have the flamethrower, you can't hit him from afar, so it may take a little bit of extra time because of that reason, but still not a bad fight, and we're continuing on here in the level. Quickly climb your way to the top, just move fast and you can get past all the bullets coming from the enemies here. As we head to the right, I'm going to pick up this barrier so I have some invulnerability for a little bit. Over here we have to start making our way up to the top. Be careful as you go up, you don't run too quickly right into a bullet or a potential enemy from below. Head over to the right here, and it's time for the next boss fight. We're just going to stand right in the middle, wait for the boss to show up, pointing the flamethrower up, and the fight will be over in just a second. The boss doesn't even get a chance to do anything. We take it out that quickly. Onwards to level number 4. Here is a similar stage to the one that we did level 2, except this time around we have to destroy the like sand lion things here, the alien hatching sand lion creatures. Just follow the arrows where you need to go for the various enemies to take out, and be careful that you don't fall into the open abyss areas that are all around. It's very easy to kind of walk on the edge and then fall off and end up losing a life because of that. Also, these little sand whirlwinds can end up like throwing you a little bit, so you have to be careful when walking over them. Here we have one last one to go. We're going to work our way around these little mountain areas, and then destroy the last one and get ready for the boss fight. For the boss encounter, you have to destroy the 4 eyes on its sides. I'm going to start off with the bottom one, hitting it a little bit before I start moving out of the way. I'm going to go clockwise around the enemy, dodging out of the way of the spiked circles that not only circle it, but also come flying at you a bit when you hit them. Thankfully, though, when they do get hit, they stop for a second and then come at you, so you should have that moment of opportunity to get away. Just be careful and don't try too hard to get to the center part. Just focus more on surviving, going around and keeping your strong weapon, and take out each eye as you can. And once the boss is done, we're moving on to the final level of the game. The final level of the game, the Alien Hive themed level, is a difficult one for sure, more challenging than the previous levels that we've dealt with, which makes sense with it being the final one. As we begin, we're going to work our way over to the right before we find ourselves at a giant alien head that we have to take on. I'm going to pick up a spread shot here and get ready to take on the first of the giant aliens. I'm going to use the top platform and fire from a little bit of a distance, watching out for the rotating other small aliens, the boomerang-like ones, that are going to start circling. Use your bombs if you have them to help you out. You can clear out the other rotating enemies with them. I'll save them until the second or third one of these giant heads that we have to deal with in this run. Over here to the right, we have the next of the giant alien heads. I'm going to wait for him to shoot out one of them and then use my bomb to destroy it. Thankfully, that does enough damage to finish it off, as well as the other thing was hit, so it didn't run into me. That is followed up by a series of these giant aliens, or battle against this giant alien. What you want to do is you need to fire at it, and it'll eventually retreat into the ground, and then just rinse and repeat. You can stand on the little claws in front of it in order to keep hitting it over and over again. After it retreats, it's going to come back up over here. You can just kind of wait for it to come up, and you'll be right standing on it again and just go right back into the fire pattern. When you're standing here, though, he has his projectiles he fires out. You want to make sure that you're close to the edge so that you don't end up getting hit by these when they do pop out. You can be pretty close, but you still want to try to be careful that you're not too close. Here I'm going to duck, and even though it's going right through me, it doesn't count as hitting me, so I can continue fighting no problem. Thankfully, only have to do this one more time, and this battle will finally be over. Once it's taken care of, we have one more giant alien head to deal with, and then it's time for the final boss. Just over here to the right, take out the last of these big head aliens. Fire at it until it opens up, and then we're going to use one of our bombs to destroy it, finishing it off. Now for the final fight here against the boss, we have our spread shot. Make sure you use that. You're going to fire directly up at it when you're firing, and make sure that you're in like the direct center so that when you fire the spread shot, you hit all 3 bullets at the same time, and it'll only take a couple of seconds to finish this fight. But to start off with, we have to destroy these arms first. Staying on the left or right side, firing up and to the right or left, depending on where you're standing. Take out both of the arm-like appendages. Once they're both taken care of, we can then focus on the actual final boss and just finish it off. You can use your bombs if you still have them to help you take out the other aliens that you're dealing with during this fight. So saving a few for this battle may be a good idea. Now that they're done, I'm going to stand directly underneath the alien and fire up. It'll start using a flamethrower after a few seconds to step out of the way, then go right back underneath when it recalls the flame, and fire up straight at it. Make sure you're hitting all the shots with your spread shot, not just one or two, and it shouldn't take too long to take down the final boss, and you can enjoy the ending, the Contra Alien Wars, on the Nintendo Game Boy. So there you have it, Contra Alien Wars for the Nintendo Game Boy, a decent port of the SNES title. Even with a few things missing, I still think this is a pretty fun Contra game overall. As the credits finish up, you get to see your final score, and then the game goes back to the title screen where you can start the game all over again. But with that, that will wrap up this episode of Play It Through. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoyed.